After the moral rupture between Merkin and her father, life does not pause to acknowledge what has been lost. It continues, almost indifferently, demanding participation even from those who are emotionally fractured. The world does not wait for grief to settle. It insists on movement, routine, and presence even when presence feels unbearable. For Eitz, survival itself becomes a statement. Despite his injuries, despite Merkin's visible concern, Eitz insists on returning to work. This decision is not driven by pride alone. It is strategy. Absence, he knows, invites interpretation. Weakness in their world is never left undefined. By stepping back into the public eye, Eitz asserts continuity. He sends a message not only to allies, but to enemies. He is still standing. Merkin resists at first. She argues quietly, firmly, reminding him of his physical condition, of the risk. Her fear is not abstract. It is rooted in the image of him bound, broken, and helpless, an image that refuses to leave her. But Eitz listens without yielding. He understands her fear, but he also understands that retreat would cost them more in the long run. Eventually, Merkin accompanies him. This choice marks a subtle but significant shift in their relationship. Merkin does not follow behind him. She walks beside him. Her presence is protective, watchful. She does not hide her concern, nor does she dramatize it. Instead, she assumes responsibility naturally, instinctively. In this, she mirrors Eitz more than she realizes. At the company, the return is met with controlled relief. No one asks direct questions. No one comments openly on his injuries. In this environment, discretion is both habit and survival mechanism. Conversations proceed as though nothing has happened, yet everyone feels the weight of what has changed. Eitz's presence recalibrates the room. His survival alters power dynamics without a single word being spoken. Those who once speculated now observe more carefully. Those who assumed absence reconsider their positions. Eitz does not need to assert dominance. His endurance does it for him. Merkin watches this unfold with a mixture of pride and unease. She sees how effortlessly he inhabits this space, how quickly he reclaims authority. At the same time, she recognizes how fragile this authority truly is, maintained not by safety, but by perception. Within the company walls, Merkin is received warmly. Colleagues greet her with relief, their concern genuine yet restrained. She senses that they see her differently now, not merely as someone's wife, but as someone who has endured and remained present. This recognition unsettles her. She does not seek strength as an identity, yet it is being assigned to her regardless. In private moments, however, the strain resurfaces. Eitz's physical pain becomes secondary to the psychological toll of vigilance. He sleeps lightly. His movements are measured. Even in moments of calm, he remains alert. Merkin notices this and feels a growing tension between gratitude and fear. She is thankful that he survived. She is terrified of what survival now demands of him. Their conversations become quieter, more deliberate. They speak less about what happened and more about what lies ahead. Neither wants to dwell on the past, yet neither can fully escape it. What binds them now is not comfort, but shared awareness. Merkin begins to realize that love, in this context, is inseparable from responsibility. Parallel to this shift is the unresolved presence of Malik. For a time, Merkin believes he has truly left. His absence becomes another quiet loss, less dramatic than her break with her father, but no less painful. Malik represented a part of her life untouched by violence and power struggles. His disappearance feels like the final erasure of that version of herself. When Malik reappears, it is without ceremony. He has not gone far. He has simply been waiting, forced into distance rather than choosing it. When he finally speaks to Merkin, the weight of unspoken truth surfaces immediately. There is no anger in him, only exhaustion and restraint. Malik explains what Merkin never knew. He did not leave because he stopped caring. He left because he was threatened. Zara made it clear that if he continued his relationship with Merkin, she would expose them to Muzayan. The risk was not theoretical. Exposure would have destroyed careers, families, reputations. Malik chose silence over destruction. His confession devastates Merkin, not because she doubts him, but because she understands the sacrifice he made alone. She realizes how her own withdrawal, driven by fear and survival, compounded his isolation. She never gave him the truth, not because she did not feel it, but because she was afraid of what it would cost. Malik does not ask for forgiveness. He does not demand resolution. He simply explains himself, finally allowing his silence to end. In doing so, he exposes another dimension of the story's central theme, the quiet damage inflicted by fear. Their reunion is not romantic in the conventional sense. It is fragile, burdened by reality. Merkin admits that she loved him, but that love was never enough to outweigh the pressure surrounding them. What remains between them is honesty, long delayed but deeply necessary. This honesty, however, does not exist in a vacuum. Muzayan, already unstable, becomes increasingly consumed by her perception of betrayal. She believes that Merkin is manipulating Ates, turning him against his own family just as Haydar turned Merkin against hers. In Muzayan's mind, this is not coincidence, it is pattern. Her fear transforms into obsession. Muzayan convinces herself that the only way to restore balance is through equivalence. If Haydar tested her by hurting her son, then she must test Haydar by threatening his daughter. Violence, in her logic, is not cruelty, it is communication. Armed with a knife, Muzayan confronts Merkin. This moment is not driven by rage alone, it is driven by a warped sense of maternal duty. Muzayan believes she is protecting her family by becoming capable of the very violence she condemns. In this, she mirrors Haydar perfectly, though neither would ever admit it. The confrontation escalates quickly. Merkin is frozen not from weakness, but from the shock of recognition. She sees in Muzayan the same justification her father used, the same certainty, the same willingness to sacrifice morality for control. Ates intervenes without hesitation. He places himself between Merkin and the knife, physically and symbolically. His response is not loud, it is absolute. He declares Merkin as his wife not as possession, but as commitment. He makes it clear that no one will harm her, regardless of intention or justification. In this moment, Ates defines his version of power. He does not threaten Muzayan. He does not escalate. He draws a boundary and refuses to allow it to be crossed. He rejects the narrative that Merkin is responsible for the chaos surrounding them. He insists on her innocence, reminding everyone present that she risked her life to save him. This confrontation does what violence could not. It exposes the emptiness of justification. Muzayan is forced to face the reality of what she has become. The knife in her hand no longer represents protection, it represents loss of control. The moment does not resolve her pain, but it disrupts her certainty. Afterward, the household is forever altered. Merkin survives physically unharmed, but emotionally shaken. Ates stays with her, grounding her in presence rather than words. Their bond deepens, no longer defined by survival alone, but by choice. Trust between them becomes unconditional, not because the world is safe, but because they face it together. Families fracture beyond repair. Haydar realizes that he has lost his daughter not temporarily, but fundamentally. Muzayan confronts the consequences of her extremism. The older generation's belief that violence preserves family is exposed as self-defeating. In quieter moments, the story allows space for mundane, conflict arguments over food habits, trivial disagreements. These moments are not filler. They serve as contrast, reminding us that life continues even amid moral collapse. They emphasize the absurdity of human persistence. By the end of this movement, the narrative's central argument becomes unmistakable. Violence justified by love remains violence. Protection enforced through fear destroys what it claims to preserve. Merkin emerges as the moral center of the story not because she is flawless, but because she refuses to surrender her conscience. It's redefines strength not as domination, but as restraint and protection. The episode does not end with resolution. Threats remain, alliances are unstable, the future is uncertain. But something irreversible has occurred. The illusion that violence can preserve family has been shattered. What remains is fragile, imperfect, and vulnerable, but it is honest. And in a world built on fear and control, honesty becomes the most dangerous act of all.